Well, we are back from Peru, and I am so excited to share a little bit of our adventure. We had so much fun. We were able to do the 2-day Inca Trail, which was kind of challenging for us, to be honest. And we were able to do that through the Alpaca Expeditions group. They were amazing. Our time was spent in the city of Cusco, which is the capital of the Inca Empire. A little bit of a history lesson there for me. We also visited Coricancha, which was once a very important temple for the Incas, where they would show their appreciation for the god of the sun. And it's actually believed that once it was covered, all of the walls were covered in gold. So very cool place, a lot to learn here. Check it out for yourselves for sure. Most of the streets in the area that we were staying at, which was downtown Cusco, were all like this, cobblestone, very, very beautiful. We're lucky enough to spend a lot of time in Plaza de Armas, as you can see here. And we were able to learn that this actually used to be the Great Inca Square, where they would use it for meditations, and it used to be twice this size. Alrighty, so although I could take about an hour to talk about all the food that we ate, I'm not going to. We had some delicious carpaccio as well as alpaca meat. We also got to try ají de gallina, which was delicious. And my most favorite was ceviche peruano, honestly. Hands down the best. We also tried pisco sour, which is a delicious Peruvian drink. And I do have to say that I think after this trip, Peruvian food is my favorite. But now let me share a little bit about the really adventurous part of our trip, which was the 2-day Inca Trail hike. Before we got started on this trip, we had chuta bread and coffee from Alpaca Expeditions. It was delicious. We got to the town Ollantaytambo, where we took the train to get to kilometer 104, where we would start this hike. After about an hour and 20 minutes of the train ride, we finally arrived to kilometer 104, where we were let out literally in the middle of the jungle. It was great. This was our group. We had Bianca in the back as well as Rolando as our guide. So at the beginning of the trail, the elevation is around 6,800 feet. Our first stop was Chabamba, which was actually a resting place for people who were passing through in the Inca Trail. We had to walk around 4 to 4.5 hours before we got to our lunch spot. So here's a little bit of the scenery before we got there. I took a video of where our lunch spot was. We were still about 2 hours away here. So as you can see, it looks very far away. The total elevation there was around 8,700 feet. Finally, after many hours, we made it to Huayna. After lunch, we would make it to the Sun Gate, which is around 8,900 feet. After nearly 7 hours of hiking that day, we made it to the Sun Gate, and let me tell you, it was amazing to finally be there. We also had a very unique view of Machu Picchu here. Only minutes after arriving at the Sun Gate, the clouds cover Machu Picchu. After spending some time at the Sun Gate, we made our way down to Machu Picchu. Most of the tourists were gone already because it was later in the day, so we got to see Machu Picchu pretty much with nobody else there, and we got greeted by a llama. After a very short bus drive, we got to our camping site in Machu Picchu Pueblo. They had such a nice setting for us. It was my first time camping. It was so comfortable. I loved it. Early the next morning, we got up and made it back to Machu Picchu to start our hike up to Machu Picchu Mountain. So the amount of stairs in this hike was a little bit scary. And I do have to say that the elevation was hitting me a little bit differently that morning too. So the hike in itself was a little bit more difficult, but it was such a great view of Machu Picchu and such a great experience. So once we were on top, the total elevation for Machu Picchu Mountain is 10,100 feet. We actually got to look down at our lunch spot from the day before. After about 3 hours, we made it back to Machu Picchu to start learning about the place. We spent about an hour to an hour and a half in Machu Picchu. It was kind of busy because it was the middle of the day, but our tour guide did such an amazing job at explaining everything and being very patient with us, as well as, you can see, taking some really great pictures. We did want to take a moment to thank everybody who was part of our group with the Alpaca Expeditions. Everyone from the chef to our tour guide was so amazing, so welcoming, and it was such an organized experience. Thank you very much for all that you did for us. And that concludes this video. Thank you so much for watching. We enjoyed our time in Peru, and I really enjoyed looking back at all the memories while making this video. Please leave your comments down below or send me any questions. We do recommend using Alpaca Expeditions if you're going to Machu Picchu. And if you haven't visited Peru, you should definitely make it a part of your next travel destination.